Okie dokie. Welcome everybody to our workshop today. This is Mental Health Over the Holidays in collaboration with Bridges for Women. We're the Work BC Center for the West Shore and Souk, and we'll be doing a brief overview today and then handing it over to Bridges for Women. So first, I would like to start with a territorial acknowledgement. The Work BC Center, West Shore and Souk recognizes the traditional territories of the Esquimalt, Songhees, Souk, Chinook, and Pacheedaht First Nations, on which our offices are located. We are proud to provide employment-related services to these nations. So like I mentioned, we're going to start with a quick Work BC overview. Then we'll hand it over to Bridges for Women, and they'll be doing our Mental Health Over the Holidays workshop. If you have any questions, please send them in the chat to myself or in the general chat if you feel comfortable doing so. But we will leave all the questions until the end. So briefly, let's go over what Work BC Employment Services are. So Work BC Employment Services are free and available to all unemployed British Columbians who are seeking employment and are legally eligible to work in BC. Some employed individuals may also be eligible for our services, such as those who are at risk of losing their current job or underemployed British Columbians with a disability. Work BC centers are located across British Columbia, meaning if you register at one and you happen to move, you can just kind of pick up where you left off at the next location. You don't have to re-register. You can just kind of transfer it over there. Work BC offers a range of services that support job seekers to improve employment readiness and to find or maintain employment. Additionally, any BC job seeker can access the self-serve resource area of Work BC Employment Service Centers. So our resource center, it's open to all job seekers. There you might be able to use our computers for all your job search needs or access a printer or photocopier for your job search documents. A staff member is available to assist you if you have questions or need assistance. And resource services are provided on a drop-in or appointment basis. Workshops, those are offered at our West Shore and Souk locations. Our workshops cover all aspects of job search and job retention to ensure you achieve your goals. We offer workshops like resume building, career planning, interview skills, hidden job market, computer skills, financial literacy, and more. Our wage subsidy program. The program is designed to assist unemployed individuals or underemployed individuals to enhance their skills on the job. Wage subsidy assists the employer when hiring someone who lacks all of the necessary skills for a position by offering a percentage of your wages for a duration of up to 24 weeks. Personal employment planning. We provide individualized sessions with all employment advisors to build your return to work action plan, helping you define your path to success. Job start supports. Work clothing, such as boots or scrubs, tools, and short-term courses such as food safe and first aid can be available for those who are unable to afford it. Job sustainment services. Work BC centers offer job sustainment services to help you resolve issues impacting your ability to maintain employment. We can provide on-the-job or in-office support from experienced job coaches. They can help you mediate disputes with your employer, learn new procedures, or gain insight into today's workplace culture. And job listings and labor market info newsletter. So as a registered client of the West Shore or Souk Work BC centers, you can receive our newsletter, Job Links. This newsletter features a daily list of job leads, covers local employment information, as well as employment events and programs. So if you'd like to learn more, our website is listed on the screen. We'll also send out our information afterwards, so don't panic if you're trying to jot it down. Some events we recently had, we had a goal setting series, 2 workshops. One was about career goals and one was learning about financial literacy. And so if you missed those are actually available on our YouTube channel. Our handle is linked below. And we've got lots of other workshops posted on there, similar to where this one will be posted. We record our workshops so that if you couldn't make it to see the live version, you get to see the recorded one. And this is our contact information. So if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so here, or you can always stop by one of our centers and one of our ladies at the front desk can help you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Bridges for Women now.
Hey, awesome. Hi, everybody. I will start this presentation, this workshop. Welcome to this, welcome here. My name is Characela, and yes, it's a mouthful. And I'm a bit anxious, right, because it's a presentation, so bear with me for now. And I'm coming from Bridges for Women Society, and I work there as a clinical counselor. And I want first to just introduce Bridges for Women. If you've never heard of this organization, we are a GOTS innovative organization that has been provided services to past or present women identified or non-binary folks that have been impacted by trauma since our inception in 1988. Our programs and services include trauma counseling, Indigenous women's bridging groups, mentoring, online education, and pre-employment programs that contribute to healing from the impacts of trauma. All of our services focus on building life skills, reducing shame, building self-esteem, rebuilding of identity, recovery from impacts of trauma, and envisioning a future. We are going to provide more information, including contact and intake process, later in our presentation. And now I'll hand it over to Wendy so she can introduce herself.
Excellent. Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm presently on the traditional unceded territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples of the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. I am a facilitator and sometimes counselor at Bridges for Women, and I work in the pre-employment recovery from trauma program. So that said, today we're going to be talking about how the holidays can bring about extra stress, worries, and pressure, and offer some information and proactive approaches to dealing with that in a safe and healthy way. So knowing what to do and preparing when you're in a good place makes tools readily accessible to you when you're not feeling at your emotional best. So at Bridges, our approach is to sort of see things through a trauma lens. And really, most people have experienced trauma to varying degrees. So really, it's applicable to most of us. So the holiday season is stressful for everyone. For many people who experience trauma, it can be much more challenging. And while there are bright spots, the unique struggles that trauma survivors face as the year ends may overshadow them. Whether out and about or gathering with family, the holidays are often a loud, hectic, overstimulating, and often triggering time. There are also hidden things that survivors struggle with, and they may not even realize it. So some may be experiencing more loneliness in contrast to the false image of a busy social holiday season. Some may feel the economic pressure, anxiety of perfectionism, to name a few. So some may face immediate or extended family that was the source of their trauma. And yet others may gather around unsupportive or toxic family or friends who don't value their mental health or well-being. For some survivors, the holidays are actual anniversaries of past trauma. So the holidays can be extra challenging for all kinds of different reasons, including many who struggle with food, with disordered eating and or addictions. There's just all kinds of extra stuff that can come up around the holidays, particularly. In addition, many trauma survivors are grappling with chronic physical health issues, some of which came from their trauma, and others, whether they realize it or not, came as a result of the trauma. So maybe sickness or pain or feeling exhausted and maybe not wanting to engage or are unable to. So because we're all different, we will all have different holiday plans and expectations. We all have different trauma histories and triggers. And when it comes to managing trauma symptoms, there can be no one size fits all guide. So we're going to try a few strategies or techniques. So what we come up with today, try all of them if you can, and just see what works for you. Keep the ones that feel right for you, and then practice them so they become second nature. And it's okay to leave the other ones behind.
As well, in order to understand why we need to practice the skills or what type of tools or planning we require, it's really important sometimes to understand as well what trauma is and as well how some of the symptoms might look like. So I'm going to define a bit what trauma is. So usually it's a lasting emotional, mental, and or physical response that often results from living through a distressing event or through a distressing period of time. For some people, trauma is not an event, right? For some it is. It can be a car accident, for example. But for others can be part of their childhood experience, or it can be part of an abusive relationship at work, with the workplace, or with a person, or with a friend, right? It's not only one thing. Anything that overwhelms us can leave a lasting response in our body or in our emotions or mental space. Experiencing a traumatic event can harm a person's sense of safety, sense of self, and ability to regulate emotions and navigate relationships, right? We might start struggling with trust or feeling safe. Impacts of dysregulation can cause problematic behaviors. And one of the struggles is that most people who experience something that really impacted them end up having really big responses at times or no responses, right? And so I'm going to explain a bit how that work looks like. You know, even all humans and even mammals, like animals, exhibit a trauma response when there is a danger or threat. You might be familiar with the universal danger response, fight, flight, and freeze. And so how do they look like? We have fight. I think most of us, we experience that at least once in our lifetime, that moment of fight when something happens, we get scared and we swear, or we are ready to punch, or we're ready to kind of be passive aggressive, or even, we struggle with control, right? And we really want to be angry. We feel an impulse, we feel an urge. That's fight. We have flight. Flight looks like I want to hide, I feel trapped, I need to run away, I need to avoid certain people, places, I'm really scared. And as well, I kind of want to, shut down even. And that brings us to freeze. Freeze, it's a very interesting one. Animals have an amazing way of dealing with freeze. When a big threat happens, animals shut down, they pretend that they are dead, and then once the danger passes, if they survive, they come, they shake, and then they move on. Now, the problem with humans is we don't shake after a danger happens, which would be awesome if we just shake our bodies after experience a big threat or something that scares us, but we don't shake. And then all that stays in our body and stays in our nervous system. And if we experience multiple or prolonged trauma, that what we learn to do is to what is called functional freeze. Functional freeze means that we kind of can function, but as well a part of us is trapped. So we kind of feel numb and not really able to deal with a lot. We get overwhelmed easily. We feel, lots of people feel fatigue, low energy, or we get bursts of energy. We go, which is a bit of a flight or a fight, and then we crash. So those are part of the functional freeze. There are many, they look differently for different people. So these are some of our responses that are due to experiencing a traumatic event or an overwhelming event. As well, another one that I really like to talk, which is a trauma response, it's appease or fawning. I'm not sure if you guys heard of that, but that's a very important one because we practice that, especially when we are surrounded by safe people, and holidays can really bring that up. So appeasing it's a behavior that kind of is meant to please others. It's people pleasing, enmeshment, really trying to make everybody at our own cost, self-sacrificing for the greater good. kind of lack of boundaries, feeling guilty for how other people feel, loathing, emotional numbing, taking responsibility for others, right? And so all these trauma responses are important to remember that they are needed. And when there is a threat, they're important. But sometimes our nervous system forgets that right now in the present moment might not be a threat. And we might still have those responses over and over and over again. So that's why starting to be aware, okay, what are my responses is part of learning how to deal with stress. Now, given that the holidays are approaching, we often get asked, what does holiday stress looks like and how can we manage or reduce it? I already presented some responses, but now Wendy's going to introduce us to even more.
Mhm. Yeah, so holidays can be anxiety provoking to most of us and can include feelings of self-doubt, of loneliness, sometimes distorted thoughts, negative self-talk. Often physical pain or discomfort can come up, such as migraines, especially if you've been overdoing it or over caretaking for others. Back pain, digestive issues, dissociating, withdrawing or losing interest in things that you usually love to do. All of those can happen during the holidays when overwhelm sets in. So if this sounds familiar, it might be beneficial to look below the surface. So what is happening? Holiday stress can involve spending time with people that feel unsafe, maybe whose values I don't align with. Um, you know how there's lots of pressure to gather during the holidays, so maybe it's with people that you wouldn't normally want to hang out with. um, some holiday some holiday celebrations mean visiting family, and this is where unhealthy family dynamics may come in. So is there one or more people who stress you out or compromise your feelings of safety or well-being? um, Maybe that you dread seeing. When triggered by family or situations, you may be more likely to overindulge in substances or behaviors that impact your well being. So, this can be important to have a plan, like ways to regulate your emotions, and maybe even an escape plan while you're at an event, which could look like just hanging out with the family pet. Um, or perhaps going for a walk or talking with one person at a time. So, having a safe person to connect with, or even someone to call. As well, pressure to host or look after other people may have you taking on more responsibilities than is doable, both in energy and in financial cost. So, really important, it's okay to say no. It's healthy to set a boundary and say no so that you're in a position where you can conserve your energy, so that you have something left for yourself. It's also okay to change your mind if you've committed to something that feels like it's just too much. Saying no and asking for help are actually good self care at any time of the year.
Holiday anxiety can also involve feelings of dread, stressing about the perfect gift, wanting to isolate, stay home by choice, and avoiding people, situations, or being isolated by geography, the pandemic, or because there are no safe family or friends to connect with. Some people have no one as well. When alone, it can also be important to have a coping plan that will help prevent overindulging in substances or situations that impact your well being. Part of your coping plan may involve accepting or even embracing not having that Hallmark or Disney holiday. This might be envisioning new traditions for yourself if you're alone or with your chosen family. You can choose what you let into your vision of the holiday. You can set yourself up for success by making a plan for before, during, and after the holiday. This can include visualizing what your holiday will look like and feel like, and how you want to feel afterwards. It's interesting, right? We really want that plan to happen, right? And for the afters is because lots of us feel let down after the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. So, just a quick note on substance use or, kind of over consumption in general. But substance use, particularly because relapse can happen over the holidays. So, emotional pain and substance use or other coping methods often dance together. People often cope in silence and isolation by using substances or other coping, such as gambling, food, shopping, sex, exercise, adrenaline sports, self harm, or even driving too fast. And that the purpose of that is to numb pain or memories, to fill emptiness, maybe to sleep, to overcome shy or awkward socializing, to contain anger or rage, maybe to have a good time, or just to try to feel more normal. Unsafe coping can lead to people experiencing more abuse or trauma because of losing control or because of exposing vulnerabilities to maybe unsafe situations or people. The cost of unsafe coping may include your own personal safety, loss of healthy relationships, self esteem, financial, emotional, or legal chaos. So it's important to make a plan and to have tools for healthy coping. Creating this structure when you're doing well can be a brilliant way of having the tools available when you're not doing well. So, thinking about the holidays, how would you like to create or recreate the holidays in a way that includes healthy coping and energy conservation? So, we have a few ideas around that. So, one of them, and I've mentioned this already, and that is to have a plan, such as what am I going to do and when? So, for before, during, and after the holidays. And some of that might involve making an emergency self-care wall in advance, which we're going to actually go through a little bit later.
Another one is that to increase the capacity to stay grounded. So it's kind of asking yourself even in advance, what are my to-go grounding techniques? Physical, mental, soothing self-talk, being present, mindfulness, gratitude. What are my favorite ones? What works for me?
Mhm. And there's the basics, and that is, eat when you're hungry, or just eat well, nourish your body, rest, get lots of rest, hydrate, so lots of water.
Yeah. Another one is to schedule in support meetings or sponsors if it's applicable or needed.
Mhm. Have the number for a crisis line or support information. Yeah, have those numbers on hand. Have a support person or friend that you can reach out to.
Yeah. Another one that I really love and I use it a lot is exit strategies. Have an excuse to leave, figure it out in advance if you're starting to feel unsafe or uncomfortable, anxious, and triggered. Like, oh, I have to feed my cat, or I have a headache. I'm so sorry. I love being here, but I have to go.
Exactly. And you get to be the broken record on that one. Repeat it
Yeah.
as often as you need to. Yeah. Um, so containment on time or activity management. So what that means is have like one or maybe two activities planned a day. And like agree to help somebody at a specific time, but only for a limited amount of time. Like say, I'm going to help you tomorrow at 2 o'clock for an hour. So containment on your time and activities.
Yeah. Another one that I like is to create your own holiday traditions or don't celebrate at all. It is your choice. No, give yourself permission to have a choice, permission to do what you really want to do, or permission to do what you are already doing. That might be just being you. Carry on as usual, as if this were just another time of the year.
Mhm. Permission to not feel joyful and happy. That is a-okay.
Yeah. And as well, we encourage really supportive self-talk, kind and gentle words to counter any negative thinking.
Mhm. Permission to do what you want to do, what feels right for you. You can leave, you can stay, you can indulge, or you can decline. You get to choose.
Yeah. Permission to change your mind. Maybe you've made a commitment that you are not feeling so great about. you are allowed to change your mind or have second thoughts.
Mhm. So here's another one, the gift of peace. It can look like making things easier for yourself, like saying no to family photo ops. If there's maybe family you don't want to be in too close to, or something like that. Another one is avoiding conflict or drama by staying away from certain topics. Um, or the other conversely, you can speak your truth and take a stand if you choose to. It's up to you.
As well, sometimes I say, and if the only safe thing is to not say anything, that's as well really important because that's about safety.
Yeah.
Have the attitude that self-care is a necessity and not a luxury.
Uh-huh. Here's another one. So explore what recharges you, what energizes you, what brings you peace, joy, and contentment. It's powerful to know what lifts you up when you're feeling down or when you feel stuck or frozen. What brings up your energy? So maybe it's people or animals or cat videos or activities. Maybe it's alone time or exercise or going for a walk or doing art or writing or reading, or the list could go on and on. Yeah.
So as well as we need sometimes when we feel like kind of functional freeze and down, we need something to bring the energy up. Sometimes we can feel very overstimulated and we need something to settle us down. So it's kind of explore what helps me and what calms me when I'm overactivated or anxious, or I have this big uncomfortable energy, right? So it sometimes it's similar. Is going by the ocean and listening to the waves, or just listening to some calming music, notice the breathing, smelling a nice candle. It's really what are my triggers and how can I remind myself that I'm safe and help my body to settle.
Mhm. And as always, play, laugh, have fun. This actually combats trauma. It's the antidote, which I think is so cool. So if I don't know, dad jokes, cat videos, connecting with people I enjoy, watching old episodes of Friends or Seinfeld, whatever works for you, whatever helps you to laugh and to whatever restores your sense of feeling connected. Mhm.
So these are some of the tips, and they're going to be, I think, part of the handout and or attached somehow. But as well, we want to go back because we named so many times that a great tool is to have a plan in place. So we are going to explore a plan. But before, it's really important to understand that why a plan is important is because in the moment when things happen, as we said, our nervous system can get really activated, our emotions can escalate, and our clear thinking it kind of goes out the window, in fact. I'm not sure about you, but I know that when I'm triggered or when things are too much, it's like really hard to access my rational brain and I just react. And so having a plan ready helps us, and it's a brilliant self-care way and a preventative strategy to really do our best, right? And so having a plan is going to be, it's a very important tool. And we are going to go through a couple of plans, but before we even do that, we want to explore as well what is grounding, because grounding and planning are the main two skills that can help us going through anything that is stressful. So Wendy is going to really talk and introduce us to grounding.
Mhm. So what the heck is this grounding stuff? So grounding is a coping strategy that's designed to ground you in or immediately connect you with the present moment. So grounding techniques are often used as a way of coping with flashbacks or dissociation when you have PTSD, anxiety, or distress. Grounding exercises use distractions to help you redirect your thoughts away from distressing feelings and back into the present moment. So they are deliberate methods of settling intense emotions or settling your nervous system when you get dysregulated or triggered. Things like doing dishes, going for a walk, gardening, coloring, art, writing, exercise, stretching, all are everyday activity type grounding, where you pay attention to your surroundings, objects, smells, temperature. So aside from everyday activities that ground, which is kind of pretty much anything you do, there are also more purposeful grounding techniques. Purposeful grounding exercises can be done via physical, mental, soothing self-talk, or breathing.
I really like the physical one. It's about using our body and our senses to bring our awareness to the present moment. And one of my favorite one is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there is a description of this exercise in the handout where we use what we see, what we hear, what we feel, and what we taste in order to bring us in the present moment. Another one is keeping a worry stone in our pocket. Rub it with your thumb if you find yourself becoming tense or anxious. Another one that I like is kind of like a warm or soothing blanket around us, right? That's very tactile. Our body that's comfort, and our body really loves that. And as you can see, my body has the memory because I usually like to rock as well. And I invite you guys even right now to try rocking in the chair for a moment. And just notice what happens. So using our body to ground can be very, very awesome. Body movements as like dancing. I dance in my living room a lot because that's really useful for grounding. It brings us in the present moment.
Mm-hmm. And it gets your body moving. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. I like rocking too. And you know that that's something that little kids naturally do, and they naturally dance too. So what works for little kids also works for us as adults. Um, so another one I really like too is soothing self-talk, especially if your mental chatter is amplified, which certainly can happen. So soothing self-talk is gentle self-talk to soothe and comfort and replace negative inner mental chatter. So saying things like, I've got this, I'm okay, I'm safe. Whew, this moment will pass. I deserve goodness. I deserve support, respect, love, loyalty, friendship, whatever is, going on for you. You want to address that. So in addition, imagery can be used with soothing or can be soothing. So particularly if you at a younger age didn't hear reassuring or soothing words of comfort. So imagine yourself at your present age or older talking to your younger self when you were in pain or distress. So saying soothing and comforting statements such as, I love you. You are safe. I believe you. You're enough. I'm proud of you. What is right with you is way more powerful than anything that's wrong with you.
Ouch. I already feel them. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to talk. I want to stay a bit in that feeling of, nice, soothing self-talk.
It's powerful.
Yeah. It can be powerful, especially even if we don't believe it. Sometimes just talking to ourselves in a self-soothing voice can be very reassuring.
Yeah.
Another one, and we're still talking about grounding. Another one is using our mind. And even though we might not have access to think things through when we are very anxious, what we have access to is counting. And I know it's an interesting one, but I don't know, for some people works so well. It's counting, doing math in your head, counting tiles, counting all the blue things or any other color that you like. Recall something step by step, like a recipe, or categorize animals. As well, another one that I like, part of the using the mental grounding, is doing word search, puzzles, anything that kind of focuses your mind on one task, right? And that brings you back, it distracts whatever was going and brings you back to the present moment in doing what you're doing in the moment. Yeah.
Love that. Another one that you can do is breathing. So when anxious or distressed, we often switch to shallow breathing. So breathing way up the top of your lungs. So using conscious breathing techniques can help reduce distress and settle the body. For example, nose breathing or alternate nostril breathing, or counting your breaths. For instance, take 3 or 4 breaths in and then 6 breaths out. So breathing out longer than you breathe in helps to ground and settle. And there's all kinds of different breathing techniques that you can feel free to look them up online if you like. There's lots out there.
Yeah. Another one is like, what helps me be present? Sometimes people practice yoga, mindful practices, as well, reciting internally, where am I at, for example, I am Charasela and I am in my apartment building and I am here at 2:07 o'clock, which already helps me come back into the present moment.
Exactly. And another way of grounding is gratitude. And this is just about sort of thinking about what is good. What am I grateful for? It's a really powerful healing tool and it's grounding. It helps to just to settle your nervous system. So just being grateful for all things, large and small, beauty, music, people in your life, scenery, um, I like going for a walk and just practicing gratitude as I'm, looking at the ocean or the clouds or that dandelion growing through the cracks in the sidewalk. Yeah.
And so now that we talked about grounding, we are going to talk as well about plant, right? We kept saying we need to plant. So we are going to go through, so a self-care wall and a somatic grounding board to prepare in advance to have skills and reminders available when you need them. So Wendy is going to share her screen and kind of introduce you to one of these exercises.
Yeah. So it can be really powerful to prepare in advance for hard times. And I know we've said this before and we're going to repeat it, to have a plan to fall back on when times are tough. So if anxiety, worry, sadness, despair, or other big emotions start to settle in, just to be able to have something written down, maybe stuck to your fridge or somewhere where you can easily access it. You're gonna pick it up and look at it and remember what you can do to help ground and settle yourself. Okay, so just 1 second, I'm gonna pull this up so that you can have a look at what a grounding board might look like. And I have to find my shared screen. There it is.
And
Already.
this one is,
So
yeah. Go
so
ahead.
this is what my board might look like. And I'd like to do it to actually do it on what are they called? On those little sticky sheets, and then just stick them to a piece of paper. Because then I can change them up. So you figure out what works for you and you can change it up whenever you want. Or you can have it done something like this. So in this one, I want to do a personal assessment of myself. How am I feeling right in this moment? What do I need? And is there a friend I can call? So I might have something like that in one category. I might write a whole bunch of things down that I know that I can do that are distracting or that are divergent. So maybe I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go for a bike ride, go for a walk or a swim. Maybe I'm just going to chill out and watch TV or Netflix or the Weather Channel, News of the World or something. I don't know. And maybe I'll put a movie on. Or maybe I'll reach out and I'll text or email a friend. So here I've left some space. There's all kinds of things that you can put. What would you do? What would you want to do for you? So maybe you would sit down and do some artwork or do some writing or listen to music or dance in your living room. See? So that's distractions and divergence. So I want to have my supports handy so that I can, so they're ready to go to if I need them. It can be really hard to think clearly when you're in a highly emotional state. So if I have all these ready in advance, I don't have to think about it. They're all there for me. So I might have phone numbers down for my doctor, maybe my counselor, community agency, or a friend or a family member, maybe the crisis line, whatever you need for you. Also, there's for those of you who would rather text, there's a crisis chat line as well, or text line. Here's some other things I might have written down for me. So what are grounding activities I like? So go for a walk, go outside. It's almost impossible not to feel better when you go outside, as long as you're warm enough or not too warm. Yeah, so what are activities that you enjoy? And then I like to have some actual grounding techniques. So I've left space here for, there's mental grounding. So there's some activities there. Physical grounding, there's some things that I know work for me under physical grounding. Generally for physical grounding, I use feeling my feet on the floor and really like sort of curl my toes in and really notice the hardness of the floor. Also the softness maybe of the carpet or my socks or slippers. So that's a great way to ground. So using your feet and maybe using your senses, like looking around the room, looking out the window. That's a very grounding activity. So I might want to put that on my board. Okay. And once again, I've got soothing self-talk listed here. So what are the things that I like to say to myself that work for me? And then I might put, what are some resource places for me? So this is a reminder of things that I love. Okay. Maybe there's a reminder here about how to set a boundary, or there's some breathing techniques. There's also some, I put guided meditation. So maybe this is what I know works for me. Okay, it's all ready to go. Okay, I've also included in your handout just a sheet so that you can work through it yourself. Put your grounding techniques, maybe put a couple numbers for friends or supports. So this is sort of two different things here. One of them is a board and one of them is sort of more written in a straightforward, just on a page here. So do what works for you. So here's another thing you might ask yourself: what do I want or need to hear when I'm feeling anxious, sad, or scared? And I know I said some of them with soothing self-talk, and you can, what do you need to hear or want to hear? And you can write that down for you. Okay, I think it's really valuable when I'm feeling good to think about the good things about me. So I'm going to write them down. What do I like about me? What are my strengths? What are my gifts that I bring? So write those down, because I'm not going to remember them when I'm not feeling great. Okay, maybe I can write a short letter to me telling me about some of my accomplishments. Okay, so that can be really valuable. Other things maybe that I enjoy. What kind of music do I like? Maybe write it down there. Maybe some my go-to movies or TV shows I can access. Write them down. Movement, exercise, dancing in the living room. I'm gonna borrow that one, Trasla, because it's fun. And maybe there's some types of reading material that I really like that I get into. So I'm going to put that in there. And maybe I have something really cozy that I can put on. So I'm going to write it down because that's going to remind me. Okay. Also, maybe there's a comfort food that I really enjoy. And maybe I've even got that put away. Like I've got maybe a pack of ramen or that really good dark chocolate or something tucked away for when I feel like I might need it. Okay. So those are just some ideas for how to create your self-care board and or self-care wall, whichever you want to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that I forgot, I think we didn't mention, but I think I want to remind people, the more we practice, the better we get at this. That's it. It's very simple. Like initially they might not even work and we might be like, oh, I'm not sure about this. The idea is to keep practicing, right? The more I remind myself to breathe, the easier it's going to become. The same with practicing grounding. The brain is going to pick them up, and then we are going to do them more automatic, more naturally. It's amazing. So I highly encourage practicing everything that you put on your plan to start practicing right away, because it's going to be easier to access when we are in distress.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And
one
then you'll
of
know what works for you too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because some things don't work. For me, things, for example, the stone, touching the stone doesn't work. It's just doesn't work. While giving myself a hug works 5 more way better than touching any stone, right?
That's funny because I really like the grounding stone too. The
Right.
touchstone.
So we are
Yeah.
different. So
Mhm.
now Wendy is going to lead us in what I really, really love, which is the visualization.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the imagination earlier. So now I am just going to invite you along for this little journey through using imagination as a tool. So for this, we're going to do a kelp visualization for grounding. So um, so this is a grounding exercise using imagination, and we know that imagination can be a powerful tool for grounding, for settling, and for comforting your whole being. So today we're going to imagine a beautiful West Coast underwater environment, like a kelp bed. So for this visualization, you can keep your eyes open or closed. You can be standing or sitting. It's your choice. So we're going to start by just notice your feet on the floor. Okay, maybe notice your back being supported by your chair. Take a little breath and settle in. Maybe wiggle your toes. Feel the solidness of the floor meeting your feet. Feel the softness of your carpet or your socks or your slippers, and just settling into a comfortable posture. So now imagine that you're on the Dallas Road waterfront or the Esquimalt Lagoon waterfront, and you're staring out at the ocean. You're noticing the water and the waves and the seaweed floating on the surface. Now imagine you are the seaweed. You are the kelp. Kelp is a very long, strong seaweed with powerful roots. So imagine your roots firmly attaching to the bottom of the ocean, attached firmly to a rock. So you can, if you want to, see if you need to adjust your feet, move your feet around to get that feeling of rooting in. Your roots hold you in place, even in the wildest weather and the strongest currents. They provide strength, stability, supporting and grounding you, preventing you from toppling over and being swept away. The stalk or stem is the next part, the middle of the kelp. So the middle of your body. It's strong and flexible. It's a supportive pillar. It bends and moves, but doesn't break. So just imagine now, can you feel yourself moving with the current? And if it's comfortable for you, just let your body sway back and forth from side to side, moving through storms and drifting through calm. Now, if you can, just stay with that movement as we move up. Okay, we're going up to the top of the kelp. So this is the leaves or the fronds, and they dance on top of the water, moving and flowing and taking in light and nutrients. So you notice what feeds you, what feeds your brain, what feeds your body, what feeds your emotions. So with your fronds, you're going to take in what you need to feed all those different parts of you. Okay? Until you have enough, until you've been fed all that you need or want. Just letting yourself feel full and nourished. Now, just inviting you to gently bring your arms down if they were up. Once again, noticing your feet on the floor. Just allowing your eyes to scan the room, to look around. Notice where your eyes want to go. Just notice maybe what's on the wall or out the window, shapes, colors, pictures. Gently bring yourself back into the room. Now, notice your body after this experience. Maybe there's some emotions or feelings or thoughts that linger or come up. All okay. And you might even notice that this exercise, it works for you or it doesn't work for you. And that's okay too. There, you, as always, take what you need and leave the rest behind. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite visualizations. And I always enjoy doing standing because there's more movement. Anyway, this visualization concludes our presentation, but we want as well to hear back from you if you have any questions or comments. And so you can use the chat to ask questions or to have any comments, and Wendy and I will try our best to answer them.
Thank you both. I think we have a question in the chat. Tammy said, I'm a 46-year-old woman who grew up with an alcoholic, narcissistic father. Even now in his 70s, he's still has quite a mean streak. Sorry. What advice can you offer to a daughter who loves their father and wants to show compassion but struggles immensely to be around him? It makes me sad because he's getting older and won't be around much longer.
Yeah.
This is really difficult to talk about that difficulty part of being with family members who are not, even though we love them, they're not always the safest for us, right? There are many strategies. One that I really like, if I really want to spend time with somebody who is not safe, then first I prepare myself in advance. I really ground, I really take care of myself in advance, even go spending time. Two, I give myself a time limit. Right? I love them, but as well, I want to make sure that I don't overextend myself. Or if I overextend myself, I have a plan for after as well. The third one is, which I can't emphasize enough how important this is to take breaks while there. Going to the washroom. And I've been to parties and people are like, oh my God, you really go to the washroom? And I'll be like, yeah, what can I say? Small bladder. Right? Nobody can say anything to that. And so go to the washroom, splash some cold water, ground, take a couple of deep breaths, remind yourself. They don't know how to be different, right? It's really important for us not to try to change people, especially during holidays, but be like, okay, this is what it is, right? And give ourselves a hug and be like, we are doing the best. Wendy?
Yeah. Boundaries, set boundaries with other people, but also with yourself. Tell yourself how much time and energy you want to put out. And you can love someone and not like them. That's okay. So if you have guilt for that, okay to let that go if you can. Yeah, and really a lot what Jarasla said. Absolutely. Yeah. Setting time limits. Yeah.
We got a couple of comments. Someone said they're actually in the process of taking one of the online programs through Bridges for Women, and she thought this workshop was great. Another person said, thank you for this workshop. I appreciate the tips, and I look forward to making myself a grounding board.
Oh, lovely.
Another, thank you for this valuable information. Another, thank you for the great workshop. Any more questions?
Yeah.
People would like to pop in?
Yeah, I wanted just to make sure, Tammy, do you feel that we answered your question? Okay, I hope so.
I hope so too. And it's complicated, right? Family relationships are always complicated. Yeah. Yeah.
There's another question.
Yeah.
I'm not visiting family for Christmas and staying home. is there was not to feel guilty about being away from family.
Mhm.
I would say no and yes. Okay. We are programmed to feel guilty in a way.
Mhm.
Right? We are programmed to feel like we're supposed to be with family, we're supposed to sacrifice ourselves. That's kind of a bit of part of our programming. So it's really hard not to feel guilty. But what I want to say, guilty is an emotion, so it goes away. We can really work through that, right? We can be like kind to ourselves, kind to our family. Of course, they're going to be disappointed or not. We don't know. We are going to be disappointed. And so it's okay to have that guilt feeling, but to know as well that it goes away. And
Yeah.
we, and we can make it up through, maybe have a FaceTime and really have like half an hour or create an activity that we can do together online. Like, different people have different things that they do together online, even if they can't be together, because sometimes financially it's not doable or we don't want to even. So it's really important as well to kind of see, do I want to connect with them? Is there any way? And how can I really allow myself to feel guilty, but not, not take it home, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense, like not wallow in that guilt feeling, because it's not because of us. Wendy?
Well, I also really like the idea of saying yes and no at the same time. Saying, okay, um, yes, I can do this and this and this and this, and no, I can't do that. So, um, I'm sorry I can't come to the family gathering. However, I can go on FaceTime and be with you in that way, or something like that. So and sometimes it's about, yeah, actually, I'm going to leave that. So, because there's a lot to it. Yeah. And, and guilt happens, and, also thinking about all the things you have done instead of the deficit, thinking about what you haven't done or what you need to do or who you owe or all those kind of things. And that's a lot to do with that mental chatter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want as well, are there any other questions before I say my last phrase? Okay. So Wendy already kind of put it down there. I want to just thank everybody for being here with us today. And as well, if you're interested in connecting with Bridges for Women or for information or further questions or anything, please either email us, Wendy put the email in the chat, or call us at 250-385-7410. And our extension is 101, where you can leave questions. And we'll be happy to hear from you. As I said, we serve a population, everybody who is women identified or past or present or non-binary folks. We serve people, and we're really happy to hear from anybody who wants to access our services.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you
Wonderful.
all. This has
Okay.
been lovely. And thank you,
Thank you
Zoe.
both.
Yeah, thank you, Zoe and Tabitha, and thank you for organizing this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. This was very information filled, and I really enjoyed the grounding technique. Actually, I felt very centered afterwards. So I enjoyed
Good,
that.
me too, and I did it. Okay, thanks everyone.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.